Gathered friends, listen again to our legend of losing faces to magnetic bullies. I'm your host, Max Dudek, and I'm joined by my cohorts, specifically cohorts.
No, you remember Levi is a concubine now.
No. Please introduce yourselves.
Episode. I know this now.
That sounds more like something I would come up with. Are you sure you're not me? Are you sure you're not me?
I was just as surprised as you are.
Yes, please introduce
everyone.
yourselves.
I am Liam, also known as Vahkiti.
That's it. That's everyone. If I were here, I'd be Glibb.
I am Katz, and despite the name today, I'm a robot dinosaur.
I agree.
Good.
Figure it out.
And with us, of course, this week we have two guests. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Introduce yourselves as names that you don't go by. That you don't actually go by.
Very
I'm
well.
Some stairs.
I am the 27th Doctor of Bob.
You can't forget the 27. That is extremely important. We established that in episode 2.
Incredibly important. The most important part of the name might just be 27.
I have Walmerger, Gonel, 777 stairs.
Oh, that's too many.
Gonel was actually supposed to join us for many such episodes, but unfortunately our schedules just didn't quite align correctly. But finally,
until today,
we managed to get an episode on Sunday.
Yes.
We had been planning to record every episode on Sundays, but this is the first time it's actually panned out.
We made it. We did it.
We did it, guys. We saved Sunday.
We did it! We saved Sunday! We did it!
Sunday!
Monster Truck Rally! Sunday! Monster Truck Rally!
Crab Rally!
You'll pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge!
I was surprised when I saw that it was actually on Sunday this time, as opposed to getting flipped to Saturday. I was like, oh, hey, maybe I can make it.
Yay. So, Max, before we go over what we're actually covering this week, I do have some notes to go over for the silly that I did for last week and skipping Quest for the Toa.
Yeah, not doing your homework.
Yeah.
All right, lay it on us. Tell us what your thoughts are on one of the stories we covered last episode.
So, outside of some errors that I've gone over with Gonel and some others already, the worst thing that I can say about it is that the NPC dialogue is very NPC dialogue, which is kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah.
I can see why Levi was completely done with hearing the word Vuadamaka by the end of last week.
Vuadamaka!
Oh, immediately flashbacks. No.
One of the funniest errors, though, that I'll refrain from bringing up most of them, but one of the funny ones that I think Levi would appreciate, I don't know if you noticed, was at one point the Vololudu launcher was mistakenly attributed as the Vuadamaka launcher.
Yeah, I did.
It shoots sacred tree crystals.
There was also
those names is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Now that I was like, how hard can it be? It's like you have the Maju, the Bulu, the Foduludu, and the Hakapugaloo, and
Vololudu 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
And all of these words probably meant something, and Lego stopped using them for after this year for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. There was one point, there were some points here as well, like at the beginning, I found it particularly funny when one of the villagers that originally found Takua on the beach to set him off on his quest told him that, was it him? No, was it him or the villager telling him that he should get out more? I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. I wonder if Tanok Trapper took any inspiration from this when writing Chronicler's Bias. Travel between different villages is forbidden, but then proceeds to encounter half a dozen different Matoran of different races on the beach. I found that fairly interesting.
was a beach day.
That's funny,
everyone
innit?
breaks the law. Everyone breaks the law sometimes. It's fine.
Gotta have a beach episode every once in a while.
The torn in this.
I love that when Takua found Wanua's drill, it just like Wanua is so prone to losing the thing that he just inscribed on as like, this drill belongs to Onua, belongs to Onua, return to Onukoro if lost.
Yes, please. It's a good habit to have.
If I were endowed with elemental powers, I would want it to be something altogether unheard of. This is what we refer to as foreshadowing.
I like that.
Lava liquor was certainly a new term that I didn't think I would hear.
New slur unlocked.
I would love to try lava. I bet it's really hot. I bet it's really spicy.
Makuta, I don't remember if this was in the actual game or not. I don't think it was, but Makuta just going full Jigsaw and leaving a note for Takua in Kawaii, just being like, I would like to play a game, Takua. Everything you have here will get you out of the volcano, but it is set to blow. Can you make it out?
Takua, I would like to play a game. A simple game. Golly.
The Vuaramaka crystals being responsible not just for food and water and stuff in the villages, but also having some control over the environment of the island as a whole. That was an interesting tidbit that I don't think has really been established before.
I mean, if it makes sense, they're literally the power source to trees.
True, but it makes me feel like I'm not opposed to it. It just makes me wonder how integral the Vuaramaka trees are to the GSR's camouflage system. Like, what this sets up makes them seem like they're nearly as important as Kininui itself.
Maybe they are.
And finally, one of the last quotes that really stood out to me, another little hint, hint, nudge, nudge. For though your adventure is ended, its ending, like all endings, is merely a beginning, waiting to be born. Hee-hee-hoo.
They got us. They hit us with the movie quote.
And that was episode 4.5. Now we can go on to the real stuff.
And now it's time for the actual episode, the 5th.
Hooray! You're a real boy now.
Yes, you've done your homework. You've caught up. Hooray.
Indeed.
Anyway.
We're all so proud.
We shall start with the tale of Pohatu.
Well, we're starting with that one. Okay.
I keep you on your toes. Ha ha ha.
I've heard of eyes of potatoes, but tails?
Well, we've got potato, but where's boyfriend?
Not here. So, after meeting with the Toamata in Bionicle issue number 1, the comic by DC Comics, Pohatu is walking through Kawaii, right? And he's like, hey, I don't like this cold. I'm gonna, if I run, I'm gonna slip, so I gotta go slowly, and that's not fun.
Gotta go slow.
And he's like, I don't know exactly where to go. But he doesn't have to deal with that anymore because Matoro is like, hey, come have a snowball fight with us, yo.
I found that very charming. Just integrating who I snowball sling into this.
Yeah,
that was actually probably my favorite sporting event from the Quest for the Toa.
Was just like, I respect this guy because he sees a Toa and everyone else is like, it treats me like a deity. But this guy's like, hey, come have a snowball fight with us. You're just like a guy, you know? And Pohatu's like, Pohatu's like, well, I don't want to use any of my powers because that would be cheating. Because then I'd have an unfair advantage. And then after the fight, gets his ass stomped, and Matoro is like,
yes, he does say that.
Hey,
you want to say that again, bitch?
Oops.
All right. So basically, Pohatu is kind of arrogant and thinks that his powers give him more advantage over the Matoran in the snowball fight than the Matoran actually knowing how snowball fights work. And Pohatu gets curb stomped in the snowball fight.
Yeah, he gets absolutely destroyed because, you know, it's a massive skill issue.
Yeah. And Matoro's like, okay, I asked you because I was like, I bet you can do really cool stuff with all of your powers and stuff. And you were like, sucks. And it's like, well, I thought it would give me an unfair advantage. And it's like, we have an unfair advantage, which is knowing stuff. And you're an idiot. So come on. Do it again. So yes.
You merely adopted the snow. I was born into it, molded by it.
Hold on, I have a Hold on, I'm gonna put my respirator mask on and do a big. Wait. Wait. No, hold on. No, I'm.
It's too late. The joke is past. It is over.
I need to be less. I need to be less goofy. I'm sorry.
There you go.
So, after getting embarrassed in the snowball fight, a Tarakava Nui attacks, and you know, Pohatu's like, what's that? And are they common around these parts? And then Motoro's like, nah, that's a freak right there.
I absolutely love the tendency of these stories to integrate lesser known creatures or characters into them, just to give them a little more time in the spotlight.
Exactly, to give them something.
We'll especially get into that later on with possibly my favorite reading of this week, Into the Web.
Oh, the webs. I like the web.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, we shall get to that. Pohatu fends it off by trapping it in a big dang hole that he creates with his elemental powers, which is not something he's done before to his knowledge.
He doesn't just trap it, he roundhouse kicks it and then curb stomps it into the chasm.
That's true. That is true. I remember that. That was the choice of words.
Is this the story where he articulates how he uses his powers as making stone just stop existing?
Is it?
Well, that's what it was worded like at the beginning, but then it revealed he was just kind of like moving it out of the way.
I read one of these stories where he was like, I can use my power to create stone, but I can also use my power to erase stone.
To take it away.
Just go into MS Paint and open and get the erase tool going on. It's
absorb the delicious stone energy.
That's exactly what happened from a certain point of view.
The stone giveth and the stone taketh away.
Just like,
exactly what I was
amazing. Thinking. It was just the most, like, this is how Light Yagami would articulate our digging a hole. I'm going to obliterate the earth itself. Dig a hole. Dig a hole. Dig a hole.
Anyway, he creates the hole.
I'll take a potato nuva and boyfriend.
Yes. So he creates the big hole. He roundhouse kicks the Tarakava Nui into it, and then that's that.
And then they throw snowballs again.
But that's not all. Motoro's like, here's a prize for participating in the snowball sling. It's a mask called the Akaku, and Pohatu's like, I'm gonna earn it by winning.
Yeah, it turns out they get.
Sorry, in Toro, we don't have participation trophies.
Exactly.
It turns out Motoro was specifically given a mask for Pohatu if he mastered the art of chilling out and playing snowball fight with babies. And he was going to give Pohatu the mask just for playing the snowball fight. But Pohatu, as one of you just said, I don't remember who just said it.
It was me.
Is you. Congratulations. You said it. Good job. We don't do participation trophies in Stonehenge. Let's go.
Yeah. I liked that. That was the end of that one. I really liked. It was nice. I liked the snowballs.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that it took Potato multiple tries to vanquish the snow babies.
Exactly.
Is that our
nimble.
episode title? Vanquish the Snow Babies?
They're very good snow babies. They are dang good snow babies. Dang
That's a
good.
potential title right there.
They'll bury you in that sticky white stuff real quick.
No!
Oh, how could you say this?
Let it be known that I'm not the one that said that.
I was gonna say, Josie's rubbing off on Levi now.
That's enough of that.
I would love to. I would love to.
Stop it. It's time.
Let it be known that I was the one who said that.
Ah. Do we have any other thoughts on the tale of Pohatu before we get into our next story?
I quite
I
like
love
how
that.
Bohrok was written like a Toraga in this. I liked that.
Another thing
He's
that
just
I
really
really,
cool.
yeah, another thing I really like about this story is, the moment where the Komatoran are introduced and they all say these really quick pleasantries, like, "Hello there, Toa, will you play with us?" Then Matoro says,
Hello, Mario.
Yes,
Um,
love this bit.
or says something like, "That's
It's
the most
be
conversation
honored.
you'll get out of them for like a week." That's Komatoran.
Yeah, I like that detail as well.
Be honored. This
I
is
remember
more than
that now.
you'll ever hear from a crowd of Komatoran ever again.
If this was Kometru, they would be speaking even less.
Pohatu would have been arrested by this point.
Yeah.
That's true. Well,
On to Tale of Onua then?
yes, that is correct. That is the next one on our list. It is the tale of Onua.
I'm particularly partial to this one just because it's based off Legend of Mananui.
Exactly. I was noticing that, and I was like, hold on a second. I've experienced this firsthand. I've done this. I've done this with my own fingers at my keyboard and mouse.
My only disappointment is that there is no narrative equivalent to a game crash in here anywhere.
Aw.
What doesn't Onua just stare into the sky and think,
The next Myth and Legacy slight update, we're going to do a forcible refresh into the page as you're reading.
what would be the narrative equivalent to the game crashing?
That's a very good question, actually.
I just tried to come up with it, and all I came up with was a character dissociating. And I
That would make sense.
I guess that would be it. But
Onua
Passing
could not
out.
move. Couldn't do anything. He can activate his Kanohi or his powers. He didn't know what to do.
You've got to do a sequel to this that has him like later in the level in that one platforming section where in the original game it would just kill him outright and it was a soft lock.
Yeah, that was not fun. But anyway, let's get into the story as to what happened in it. So, Onua has
platforming.
abandoned a party that the Matoran threw for him, which is hella rude. That's the first thing I wrote down. I was like, very rude, Onua. Why would you do this? So he was frustrated that,
That's
you know, after finding his first great
take
mask.
if I've ever heard one.
Sorry, what?
That's a neurotypical take if I've ever heard one.
That's the only one you'll get out of me. That's a lie. I'm good at masking. Anyway,
Autistic people
You're
should
good
be
at- you're
allowed.
good at
should be
maxing,
allowed.
I
Autistic people
am.
should
That's
be
why my
allowed
name
to
is
leave
like that.
parties.
So he was frustrated that, you know, as soon as he found his first great mask, Onua was like, you gotta get the noble masks as well. You know?
Which is
And
probably
he's like-
the only instance of the noble mask being acknowledged at all in canon
thank God.
material because it's so
Thank God, man.
it's very inconsistent. I think the only example that was ever given is that the Turaga gave them to them or something.
Yeah, but that's like, that wasn't even stated in any like story. That was just like an encyclopedia at the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only briefly appeared a couple times in the animations. But
Yeah,
Which are dubiously canon.
exactly,
And
right?
at
So
that
it's like,
point, they've they've already won the mask as well. It doesn't demonstrate how
Yeah,
they
yeah.
found them.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing, because it's like, because no other story even mentions the need for them. So I'm just like, why do these guys have?
Yeah. I think Legend of Matanui, if it had come out, would have been like the only thing to state, like, this is how they found the masks.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Well,
But,
Well, now we have
plus
this.
Masks card game.
Yeah,
Well,
which
now
is
we have
my
this.
primary
True.
source of reference.
Yeah, I'm
Ah.
quest masks. Man.
Yeah, this story gave us a very interesting discussion that we'll get to later on, but
Ooh.
it's pretty much just the animation, a handful of stories that mention finding masks and the quest for the mask
Onua writes
card
a
game.
game facts.
Also, Nobua appears, and that makes it objectively the best story on the site.
Yeah, I recognized him. I was like, oh, hey, it's Nobua. He's
Purple
doing his
Owl.
little dance.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
so anyway,
Didn't
And
mention him by name.
in parallel to Homestuck, there are some parts of Homestuck that are just character named Rose writing game facts about the game that they're playing in canon, and that's basically what's happening here. Onua talking about playing Legend of Matanui.
Sounds about right.
so anyway, we got. So Onua goes back to Onokoro, and he finds Wanua, and he's like, "I'm sorry for being rude," you know. And then Wanua's like, "Well, I'm sorry for immediately telling you, reminding you of the work you got to do instead of just like congratulating you." So they both kind of apologize to each other, which, I think that's nice.
Yeah.
And then Wanua's like, "Hey, I'll take you to the location of the first noble mask, or at least the closest one." They go there. They go through the tunnels. They go to a little cavern, and Onua must do some platforming to reach this mask, which is at the top of the chamber.
And I also love at this point. I forget if it's around this point or after this point, but the Onua and Wanua are talking about like it's almost as if the Turaga are hiding things around the island themselves, and I'm thinking like.
And he's
Thinking
like,
back
no.
to like Ian Flynn's tweets about like Sonic writing, like hashtag knowing smile.
He's like, no, I didn't do that. How could I? I am but a little old man.
Also, Wanua's a cunt.
Yes.
Oh.
Where you are.
I love the ending to this story, man.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. But we'll get to that at the end, because I think it's a very funny reveal.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious. It's hilarious.
It made me giggle.
Do a big hee hee hoo.
Yeah, exactly. All these stories, or most of these stories, have made me do a little nose exhale at the very least at some point. Which is good. I like that. Anyway, so Onua points out a Vololudu launcher in the chamber, and Onua
And-
promptly ignores it.
True to form,
Yeah.
nobody knows where these things come from or how they're made.
Well, they happened.
It's just sort of there.
Yeah.
Just,
Everyone
Just
forgot
sort of
when we
there.
went to the ball.
yeah. Nobody knows where they come from, so everyone just sort of takes
Did
it
they-
and then everyone just sort of takes it, uses it, and puts it back.
They forgot how to make the Vololudus when they went into the ball wiggler.
Yeah. I'm guessing my off dome theory is that they brought them with them from Metro Nui. Or like, I don't know, a few of them. And the Matoran just forgot about them.
When
It almost feels like something that would have been made by the Ninra ghosts.
When Matanui
yeah.
retreated into the mask of life the last time, somebody should have shouted at him, "Wait, Matanui, before you go, Great Spirit, please! How the fuck was the Vololudus made? Where the fuck did Vololudus come from?
Please
These are
dispense
so-
this wisdom.
Well, you see, when two Vuada Maka trees love each other real much.
Oh,
I don't think trees can do that.
That answers that question.
So yes.
What?
So he promptly ignores the Vololulu launcher, and he continues to platform and keeps failing, because he's not solving the puzzle in this level.
The puzzle being not to ignore the Vololulu tool.
Exactly. This is game design. You find an item in a chamber, you don't ignore it. You got to get it.
The NPC told him where to go get the item, and he didn't listen.
Well, to be fair, this is Onua's first video game, so
That's true. Yeah, he just put himself together recently. Anyway, so he keeps failing at the platforming, and eventually Onua reminds him, "Hey, have you tried that Vololulu launcher over there?"
That thing I told you about when I brought you in here initially, and you completely ignored me.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, Onua's just like, why didn't you tell me about this sooner? And he's just like, I did.
I love that. That got a giggle out of me.
Good lord.
So the moral of this story is don't ignore your elders even if they leave out the good bits. If he had explained even once, oh yeah, the Vololulu launcher, that thing I told you about, that thing, literally, what you do is you shoot it, and then it makes you be where you shot it at.
If you do the thing, you go to place.
If you do the thing, you go to place. It's really good.
Yeah. So Onua grabs the launcher and he uses it, and he easily just destroys this platforming challenge.
Because of course he does,
gets them
because he has the thing that solves it.
Yeah, exactly. He has the item. So he reaches the platform
guys.
with the mask.
I don't think the decision to give Onua a gun is the right one creatively.
No. Name a narrative that wouldn't be solved by just giving the character a gun or replacing the main character with Spider-Man.
Actually, yeah, fair point.
Uh-oh.
So what you're saying is massive power needs to be restarted and redeveloped to be more similar to Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yes.
Oh my god, the guns.
Yes, guns.
Where is that damn fourth Kanoe mask?
It's over
there.
So yeah, he gets it, and then he learns the value of having tools at his disposal. And then Onua reveals... What does he reveal, guys? You guys commented on it earlier. It's time to reveal to the audience.
He reveals that this whole thing has just been to entertain himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lesson wasn't intended.
Onua's if I hadn't gone out of my way to find the launcher, I wouldn't have been able to finish the challenge. And he's like, oh, that's good. That's a good excuse for this. Yeah.
That's a good lesson to learn from this. I just wanted to watch you flounder a bit.
That's absolutely what I intended. Yeah, what you said, sure.
This guy spent his entire life on Metronui learning lessons out of working at a museum. He just wants to screw around.
And they call Matau the practical joker.
Lamau, lol even. Or the other way around, actually.
Name one thing Matau has done funny as a Turaga.
That's a good point, actually.
Name one
Turned
funny
into a
thing
bird.
Turaga.
when he disguised himself as that bird in the nest, that was kind of funny.
We were kind of talking about this on episode 2 during the referee, but yeah, Matau was one of those characters that is completely different as a Toa and as a Turaga, and there's no bridging of that gap to say how he got there and calmed his shit.
He's retired. He retired.
I mean, he still likes to party, though. I would kind of disagree. I think it's more so just that we don't see much of him. There's not much stories with him as a Turaga.
It's
there's not much attention given.
People don't want to write shoot speak.
Yeah, he's annoying to write.
And he keeps getting captured.
Get on that, Liam. Get some concubines on it.
If there were a song exploring him called The Singer, you'd have to write Shoot Speak songs.
Well, I guess we know what's going to be on Ida's Journey Act 3.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Just rhyming.
That's
and
pretty
shoot
much. I want to shoot some speaks.
I want to shoot. I want to shoot myself. Let's move on.
Yes, that was the tale of Onua. Do we have any other thoughts on it besides what we've said?
No.
I've got some thoughts.
Go on.
Amazing. My big thought is my big brain thought right here is throughout the canon stories we never had any evidence of Onua finding math. He went unmentioned in the book, like there were no stories covering his quest for math. In the card game, the only mask he found was a mask got infected, and it was used to kind of demonstrate what an infected mask is. And the only other card was in the card game was he was given Noble Huna for winning an Usel race. That was the only math, the only evidence we had of him finding a specific math. I was going through the details, researching all of the Toa, all of their math. Onua was the only one who there was just nothing for.
And here he says that, and here he just says outright, yeah, I don't really talk about myself a lot. I don't really.
That's clever.
Yeah.
That's big brain.
I didn't catch that.
Exactly where that comes from.
I thought it really that was quite nice as it kind of pulled double duty and just showing his humility as well.
Yeah.
I thought it would be clever if it turned out that he says this line and then it turned out that there wasn't a lot of mention of him finding masks in other sources of canon, but I couldn't remember. And it turns out that there was.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
what
awesome.
would have been useful with this platforming story?
Well,
maybe having a mask of levitation, that could be handy.
that would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Funny that.
Yeah, but Onua brought him to the here and now, so he's got to do it now.
He just doesn't have it with him today.
Because he thought it would be funny.
This story did start as an adaptation of Legend of Matsunui, and it was going to be kind of a canon-compliant version of that.
More specifically, if I recall, wasn't it going to be very specifically based on Rebuilt? Because I know at one point you were asking me for the most up-to-date script.
Yes, it was. So we were going to do a walkthrough of the Legend of Matsunui Rebuilt with all the dialogue and all the additions added, and we're still playing with that idea. But this kind of spun off into its own. We were talking about how the level isn't exact. You don't have the tree, and you have to. It wouldn't be perfect. Whereas some of the stuff we were thinking for this story might. It made sense if it veered away from the game a bit. So it's not going to be. This isn't the walkthrough of Anu Core that we were envisioning with that. And we may still end up doing. Actually, a version of that has been drafted. It's the only level that has been drafted for a walkthrough. I'm still unsure if we're going to do all the other levels, but yeah, that's very much. I'm glad the intention was to capture the frustration of a platformer, especially when we were playing through that game first.
That is quite cool.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that bit because I also, like Onua, kept falling. So I was like, oh.
Yes.
I feel his frustration.
Didn't help that the ledge grabbing is so horrendously broken in Legend of Matsunui.
Old games from 2001.
I think I was
old unfinished games from 2001.
I was blowing up the Lightstone server for a while with questions and messaging, trying to figure out the whole thing. You mentioned the bugs.
Well, here he is.
Yes.
The bugs. Wait, do you mean the bugs in the game or the Rahi bugs that get under your feet and cause you constant damage forever?
I don't like those.
Every time, if you can change the error message, you should have a bug. The bugs running around the screen.
They can't change shit. If they haven't fixed something, it's because they either haven't figured it out yet, or they literally can't.
Yeah, that sounds about right. No, I thought the way we were going to go with that was like, oh, the if they haven't fixed it, is because they haven't fixed it.
Exactly.
Why would I say
Attacked by a
that?
lightning bug.
Why,
This game
why
is
would I say
crashed.
that? That's stupid.
Damn.
Anyway.
Well, I'll just say that these stories, a lot of them are a bunch of random ideas that have been kit bashed together. It's like cutting and gluing random things that kind of make sense together. Like you can see,
Or just
but-
Lego.
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't
just
need-
a lot
don't-
of concepts
to
that
kit
we
bash.
want to do something for, and this, like, throwing them in a pot and seeing what comes out. Like Pohatu, we wanted to explore different games that weren't really featured too much, but Holy gets a big feature later on, but a lot of the other games don't really appear too much beyond Quest for the Toa. I also wanted to do something with Pohatu and Onua, and wanted to feature. So the Tales for, I should say this, Tale of Pohatu and Tale of Onua were both meant to fill a gap from 2001, which you have this big theme, especially when they're hunting for the Kanohi, that we're following these tales of the Toa. And in the comics, you see the Turaga specifically narrate the second one as being, this is the tale of Lua, and this is the tale of Gali, and following them on their adventures. And then in the books, we get these stories, the chapters that are dedicated to Tahu in Anukoro, or Anuahi, and then Kopaka in the volcano. But we never really have anything featuring Pohatu or Onua, so these chapters were meant to fill in and
Fill in that sort of like void.
Yes, exactly.
That's quite cool.
Speaking of Coley, real quick, there's one actually. Another note that I had from Quest for the Toa that's not really related to that specific story. It's more of a tangentially related note that I found when I was looking up something on BSO1. But apparently, I don't know where this is mentioned in any actual story, but apparently there are different kinds of Coley even back then, including but not limited to mounted crab matches.
Yes.
I would like to see this at some point.
I didn't realize this. I've learned something new here today.
Feel back to the bit of canonization to make sense of the Takua and Fuku set. Because he
I was
has
just
a
going to mention that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, in fairness, that was more of a reference to Mask of Light, I think, when he picked up the Coley staff in Onukoro as a weapon. However, because I guess at the same time, didn't Dala also have one with the Gukko?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe they just thought, oh, there's a Matoran with this set, so we have to include a Coley staff as well.
Well, because like they had
you can use the gear.
But because it's like you can get those sets and then you can have them not on the Rahi, you know.
Yeah.
You can have them with the whole
mounted
other people.
Coley.
Yeah.
There are two flavors of Matoran, mounted and not.
Remember to mount your Matoran.
There's this game that rich people play called Polo.
Ah, yeah. I was thinking something like that.
Yeah.
All sports are now Coley.
Horses.
Yes.
Indeed, it often is, yeah.
Okay. So the three sports that Coley can be: soccer, lacrosse, and polo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Okay.
It's good. You know,
And
it's
Kathy
good.
Hopka
It's like how there's field hockey and there's ice hockey.
And Kathy Hopka, the horse lady, never wrote a book about it. You know what?
Why no crab romance novels?
Why no crab romance? Why no crab romance? Why Fuku not getting laid every night?
Why no Olympic crab dancing?
Okay. All right. We're getting a little bit sidetracked here.
I'm sorry.
I started it this time, in fairness.
Yeah. This time it's your fault, Liam.
Liam.
I had to bust out the govy for you.
I must return to the pear wiggler to atone for my sins.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's time for the Bohrok Wars, Chapter 1.
Yeah, are we going over the additional chapters or just the published one?
I have only read the original, the published one.
I have also only read the published one.
Yeah,
I was told to read the unpublished stuff, so I did.
I also read the unpublished stuff.
Yeah,
I am a good gender ambiguous robot dinosaur.
Yeah, the story behind that, for anyone who doesn't know, this was going to be a story that we were releasing last year, but it was right as the summer hit, and we were still doing preparations for the Vision of the Great Beings launch for 810, so we were just too busy with that to finish this story and then to publish the rest. We went through the first week and launched it, but then just weren't able to wrap it up. But I sent a link to some people in here for some of the drafts of the
You
later
sent it
chapters.
to me, and then I relayed it in the Gathered Friends server.
Right, and
I assume you and Bob remember enough of the broad strokes of it that you could take over discussing about it then.
That's if we want to, though, because also...
I'll say that I like it. I like what
because
you
also
have so
most of
far.
us haven't read it, right? Or at least like half of us.
Yeah,
And
I
it.
like what you have so far.
Yeah. But also for the case of the podcast, what if the rest of it is not available when this episode airs?
That's true. It wouldn't be.
Then people get spoiled.
Let's just not say we did.
I'll just say that it's going to be an anthology, so the parts aren't necessarily going to be connected, but it's filling in there's of 2002 that we don't really know too much of. We have the Tanuk attack on Takoro in the lava plains. We have those 3 breeds of Bohrok attacking. Then we follow the Toa back to their villages. And then there's a time skip the books don't really talk about it, but the comics say that about a week's passed since the initial attack. And we don't really know much that's happened in there. So this is going to fill in some of that.
I like the concept of this a lot because I don't know. I always like when like little time skips are like filled in with like alternate media. That's just like a thing I really like. So I'm like, ooh, to me that's like what expanded universe stuff like really works great as, you know, like the filling in little details like that.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't rely necessarily on existing knowledge. It just serves to supplement it. It enhances what's already there.
Exactly. Yeah, because like the original story is like it's written with that gap in mind, so you don't need to know what happens in this gap to like understand the wider story. But if you're someone who just like really likes the material, you can get more of it.
Yeah.
You know? And I like that. That's what I like about things like this.
It wasn't carved out of the story and given back to us as DLC.
a quote from a very good movie, I think, was once said it was a movie. It was a quote: "See a need, fill a need." I don't remember the movie. It might have been robots. Maybe it was cars.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it was robots. I sure did like that one. I had a conversation with my girlfriends about that movie.
You just quoted Big Weld.
Nice.
Okay, first of all, Big Weld's theme in the GBA and the GS game absolutely slaps.
The entire soundtrack of that game was big bopping.
And the reason why it is relevant, because the soundtrack for that game was also composed by, I believe it was the composer for Bionicle Heroes GBA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's still relevant to Bionicle.
A Bionicle connection.
Also, there is you can draw a Venn diagram with the visual similarities between Big Weld's design, Takanuva's design, and the White Power Rangers design. The 3 of them have so much in common.
Interesting.
I think I have a partial idea for our thumbnail this week.
Have you ever seen them all in the same room?
Yes.
So anyway, before I mention which robot I would sleep with, let's move on. Let's move on to Bionicle now.
Spoiler,
Yes.
all of them.
Yes. All right. So into the sort of the summary. Sorry, the summary of Chapter 1 of the Bohrok Wars.
Easy for you to say.
What did you say?
I said easy for you to say.
So Kopaka is walking around and he's thinking about the Turaga and how they keep secrets, and he's like, they know a little too much, and that makes me uncomfy.
It's almost like they hid all the masks themselves.
But how could
they
they do that? They are small.
And they knew the Bohrok were coming.
It's true.
And they knew
Bohrok coming.
And they knew literally everything. And it's going to turn out a few stories from now that literally everything that is going to happen is just written on the wall somewhere.
Kopaka is slowly starting to believe in the Illuminati.
No, he is, though.
Opening his third eye.
What was that about the Order of Matanui?
The Illuminati too.
He has way more than 3 eyes.
That's
true. He does. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. This is the one where he starts questioning the Turaga being smart.
Yes.
Are the Turaga really as wise as they seem, or do they just literally know the plot already?
Or are they the writers? So, after ruminating on that, he goes to Kokoro, and Motaro tells Kopaka about how when he found him in Manog in the drifts, passed out, Takua was muttering about the Bohrok swarms, or rather just the swarms.
Shaking just over and over again. They're coming. The swarms, beware the swarms.
In all caps, energy! Rest!
But that was Motaro.
Yeah.
He shouted at him to energy rest.
Is this a reference to something?
In the Matanui online game, during the cutscene where Motaro finds Takua in the drifts and he gives him Guatemala fruit, he just for some reason when he just says like energy rest, it's in all caps for no reason.
I don't remember that, but all right.
I've never noticed that. That's funny.
that is funny.
I've always seen that bit, and I was always like, that was peculiar. Anyway.
What an
I was like, I wasn't sure how I was supposed to be reading it. If it was like a typo, or if he was like shouting it, or being like stern, or like, I wasn't sure how to read it in my head, like in this voice.
Every time something is in bold, someone is shouting it.
But I don't think it was in bold. That's the thing. It was like not in bold. It was like regular. But
Josie is just perpetually in bold then.
Every time something is in bold or all caps, someone is shouting it. Yes, I am always bold, always shouting, always in caps. So
Kopaka goes to confront a swarm of Tanakh, which are, wrecking stuff. I almost swore. Whoopsie. And unfortunately, they have destroyed the Three Brothers Bridge. Aww. So
Not
sad.
the Three Brothers Bridge!
Yeah.
The Two Brothers Bridge now.
Oh no!
The Three Brothers Bridge bit, by the way, it claims that it says the greatest work of Matoran handiwork or something like that was destroyed. The wiki seems to disagree that was Matoran handiwork. The wiki, because I thought I remembered back in the story when the Toa metric leave. I think it's shortly before they gave up their powers, I think. They come across the Three Brothers Bridge and they name it for the icebergs that are around. And I'm pretty sure, and the wiki agrees with me here, that it explains there that it was a natural formation.
I did not notice that. The one thing I noticed was when we get to Relevance, it was stated that Kopaka was moving towards the Three Brothers Bridge at some point, even though by that point it had already been destroyed.
They fixed it.
Destroyed the glacier. It's so bad.
It's a conspiracy.
You know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna edit Relevance and I'm gonna make it the Two Brothers Bridge just to satisfy you.
It's just called Two
yeah,
Brothers.
I noticed that too, and I just kind of.
It's just called Two Brothers.
I just assumed they fixed it. I was like, oh, okay. But also, like these are two stories written by different people, I think, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
makes
As
sense.
well, Relevance was written in it was first written in 2018, rewritten again in 2021, which was for this story. But that is actually an issue. There should not be a Three Brothers Bridge by the time the story takes place. So I will amend that in the next draft.
Well, thank you.
In my head, it kind of I picture Kokoro, and I think there was a bridge in Luchter, if I'm remembering. That's kind of what I've been picturing. But I don't think that is the Three Brothers Bridge, is it? Because it is
I think that's a completely different thing. I think it's probably, if I had to take a guess, I would say the Three Brothers Bridge is somewhere between Kokoro and the North March.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, thank you for pledging to fix the space-time continuum.
Time to repair the Vahi again.
Yeah, so, so it goes...
That's a good point about the three glaciers, though. I'm not finding it offhand right now, but I know what you're referencing. I'm going to see if I can find that and clean it up so it matches. Yeah, thanks for that, Cash.
Great. So, now we're going to go to Takoro, because it's hot.
Ooh,
and I'm a bit chilly. So Jala is strategizing with Tahu and Vakama about, the Bohrok that are going to attack and how to deal with them and whatnot. Then I think they just fought off the Nuvok or the Parok. Which one was it?
Same diff. They both do the same thing. They both do the same thing. Who cares?
They mentioned Nuvok Vatal or something.
Yeah, they call them tunnel foxes.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
One particularly interesting thing, I forget if this was here or in one of the unreleased chapters, but at one point, Tahu just sneaks up on a Parok Va and cleaves its skull in, even though somebody just got done saying, remember, do not destroy the creatures, for they are not mere machine. They live, even if their life is alien to us.
That is
one of the two.
Chapter, yeah.
I caught that, but it also in the same story kind of gets around that by saying that the Va don't have Krata or
Krana.
Krana.
Yeah.
There's no actual life to them. But
they're robots.
What are they then?
Yeah,
they're robots.
I don't know if it's ever established whether or not the Bohrok Va also come from Avmatoran. And
I think they're drones, personally.
If they do, one, how do the Bohrok control them without a Krana? And two, if they can be controlled by the Bohrok without a Krana, then why do the Bohrok need Krana?
Yeah.
No, because
the Bohrok
like I said,
don't need
I think the answer is that the Bohrok Va are drones, legitimately just programmed, and they function autonomously. Because remember, they were still active during the Bohrok Kal nonsense, right?
Well, yeah, but the Bohrok would also take orders without Krana, just like the Bohrok Va would.
Yeah, but the Matoran had to physically reprogram them.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
They're not like that normally.
So
without Karana, Bohrok go inert, and then Nuparu goes in, rewires them the Among Us style, and then they could be told what to do like Bohrok Va.
Yeah.
So then presumably,
sorry.
So presumably then the Bohrok Va just take orders from whoever, as long as how do I put it? The Bohrok are the beings that they primarily take orders from, even if they're not directly controlled. But if the Bohrok, if they can't communicate with the Bohrok, then they'll just take orders from whoever tells them what to do.
No, I think
it's more so that I think it's more so that they have a simple programming and they kind of just default to it.
They're like the Mars
default to
rover.
helping the Bohrok.
They're like the Mars rover. They have autonomous programming that makes them do stuff to help the Bohrok, and then the Barrag can wire in and tell them to do specific stuff.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm still.
And then every year on their birthday, they will beep out the happy birthday song.
Yeah.
I guess my assumption then would be that I'd have to look into do Avmatoran become the Bohrok or the Krana?
They become
the
Bohrok.
Bohrok, like the empty Bohrok.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean Bohrok are alive necessarily, because it could just it could just be their remains become the Bohrok. You know.
So then, do Avmatoran also become Bohrok Va?
No,
I don't think that's
we know.
ever established. I think Bohrok Va are kind of just drones, and the way I've always pictured them is they're sort of like Matoran that were never awakened, but I think they're just drones, is my understanding. I know that the Avmatoran do specifically become the Bohrok, but it's never really mentioned where the Bohrok Va come.
Yeah, because my thought process there is like if they don't come from Avmatoran, then where do they come from? Because I think
they were just built by like the great beings or whatever.
I mean, how do I put it? They're just like when Avmatoran become. Avmatoran wouldn't become Bohrok, I don't think, if there wasn't if there wasn't a need for more at any given time. They wouldn't have that programming in there to have a backup plan like that. And I feel like there couldn't just be a finite number of Bohrok Va created by the great beings as well. There has to be some contingency in place to make more if others get damaged.
Maybe it's a similar process to how new Matoran can be made, but we just never see those machines. Because I feel like, just because we don't see it, doesn't exclude the possibility of it.
Yeah. I'm very confused as to how they would be made. Because, I guess the Barrag could do it somehow, but the most we ever see them do is making Krana, which is just don't they just dip something in energized protodermis or something like that and Krana come out, except when it's Zyglak?
Yeah, I'm just I don't know, because to me what seems most consistent with the media is that the Bohrok are depicted as support drones that are kind of more simple-minded,
In the movie Robots, but you literally just you get a box full of parts and you literally put the robot together.
Yeah,
it's just like Lego for real.
Yeah, it's I don't think because the Bohrok and the Bohrok, I don't think they have any organic components. You know, so that's the thing. So it's going back to the Bohrok real quick. When Avmatoran become them, I think they're organic parts, kind of just get converted into metallic protoderms. So they're not living things. They're more like corpses,
Right.
that have been repurposed.
Dead baby mechs.
The best kind of mechs.
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I know I'm overthinking this, but at this point, it's my job. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but I just think I think in the case of the Bohrok, it's just more simple as in they're just built. Because I think that's what we assumed would happen with the Bohrok before the Avmatoran reveal anyway. That they just kind of got constructed.
I think the process of constructing Matoran is probably slightly more complicated because of the biological material. But the Bohrok are just robots. Just put them together.
Yeah.
And I think they probably have some sort of there's probably some sort of machine in the Bohrok nest where in case the Barrag need to make more.
Yeah, that is true. It could just be an automated process.
Yeah.
What if it's just an ice cream? What if it's just an ice cream maker?
But I think we can at least all agree that the Bohrok are robots rather than living things.
Anyways, more dead baby mech time.
Yes. So Tahu starts fighting a squad of Tanakh that show up and are just being really mean. And that's when we mentioned where Vakama is remember, these things are alive. And I'm that's just your opinion, man. It's the They were once alive. I don't know about now.
Sure, they're alive from a certain point of view.
And remember, these skeletons were once alive.
Exactly.
These skeletons were once alive, so don't kill them.
Yeah. But he might have been referring to the Karana, but he was being kind of vague.
It sure didn't stop them in the last episode.
That's okay.
Stabby.
But then
Look,
Tahu,
I
The
hate
episode
shit-
before
look.
that, I keep losing track.
yes.
Look,
Because,
I hate- look.
okay, like at any given point, we arranged this schedule for release and editing and recording so weirdly. To put it in perspective, yesterday, episode 3 aired on Sheridan Life Radio. I was editing episode 4, and now we're recording episode 5, all in the span of like 2 days.
Let's go.
So it gets very confusing as to what we talked about and when, because
Yeah.
for me it was all just yesterday.
For me, that was
So
like a month ago.
So anyway, Vakama tries to tell them, hey, I don't like killing bugs, so don't kill the bugs. Even though the bugs in question are like mosquitoes.
Robo bugs.
Robos. And then
Look.
Tahu slices open the head of a Takanuva, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I guess this one's not alive."
I don't like killing bugs, but if the bugs attack me, it's a different story altogether. I like killing those.
Self-defense.
I'm pretty sure that's in the Toa code.
Yeah, to be fair, there is a large amount of them just throwing the Bohrok shells out into the lava fields. Like they do not care about the lives of the Bohrok at all. Anytime past Vakama saying, "Yep, maybe don't kill these guys."
Vakama is like the Karana are alive, though.
I almost kind
Yeah,
of
we
hope
better bury them in a well forever.
I almost kind of hope the Matoran never find out that the Bohrok were once Matoran.
Hmm.
That'd be kind of sad, but I don't.
Who in canon knows by now? By the end of things.
As far as we know, it's just the Toa.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of hope they don't tell anyone.
You know what would be like, not going to get off on a tangent about this, but what might be an interesting story for later down the line, even just like a short story or something, is post-reformation. The Bohrok, just they're doing their new job, whatever it is that we come up with for them. They're running a maid service or something, I don't know. But one random Bohrok or something, or maybe one of the new Bohrok Cal starts to remember who they were as a Matoran.
That could be good.
Yeah,
like maybe like, because I was thinking maybe like there's a copy of their AI that's sort of like dormant within the programming of like the Bohrok mech,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, glitches in computer systems happen in real life like that all the time. So why wouldn't they happen here?
It's sort of like an E102 Gamma kind of story.
The great beings, as we find out, are very fallible. They are not competent.
Yeah.
They're reckless
The fact
as
that
hell.
they built a giant robot that could do all this stuff is honestly more miraculous, knowing who they are and what they're about.
They are obsessive compulsive with making stuff. Doesn't matter what it is, though.
What were you going to say, Bob?
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, like, at some point, I really want to do a story about Kikua and Tridax and the alternate universe journeys that Tridax goes on to find the Shadow Takanuvas. I would just love to write a story that's set in a universe, do all this build up, this alternate Kikua, and he just dies and turns into a Bohrok instead of turning into Takanuva. After all that effort, he's a Bohrok. Great.
Wow.
Yeah, there's bound to be one universe like that for sure.
Yeah,
and then he becomes a Bohrok of light.
A faux rock.
So what if the Toa all get together and agree unanimously? Let's not tell the Matoran that the Bohrok used to be Matoran, because they would every single one of them.
I heard that bit. I was only gone for like a few seconds.
They would all be traumatized universally, except maybe the Nyran ghosts, who probably already knew that.
And they're probably like,
I think they're a bunch of
I wonder
babies."
if we could do something like this. Maybe I could
Yeah.
turn my brother into a Bohrok somehow if I could reverse engineer the process.
Anyway,
Artificial
I always
Bohrokification.
look at the Nine ghosts as being like Professor Hojo in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, just
Wow.
the Takanuva and Tahu just get together and decide, okay, so we're just not going to tell anybody anything that we know unless they ask, because everything in the universe is messed up, and it just gets more messed up the more we know about it, and the Drago were right the whole time, keeping secrets and hiding stuff.
I would
Yeah,
say
anyway.
the only character who you could get some mileage out of that revelation for is Nefaru, because everyone loves to think, oh, Nefaru is like racked with guilt over the revelation of the Bohrok being sentient beings at some point, and he's
Yeah.
used their corpses to make the boxer. But yeah, it depends how far you go
dead
with
baby
that.
mech.
Exactly.
I feel like it would be more controversial in the Matoran community, because I feel like there would be a bunch being like, well, they're not Matoran though. you know, it's like they're already dead. You know.
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to cancel Nefaru over this. He can
It's
no
like
longer be
where-
a Toa.
it's like-
Hand in his shield.
It's like building a suit. It's like building a suit of armor out of bones.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel, I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be like a universal guilt. I feel like there would be
Bhakti,
within the
on the other
Matoran community
hand.
there would be kind of like differing opinions on it.
Tossing
You know?
bodily remains into the lava.
Because then I feel, because like when it comes to Kanohi, right? Like those are culturally pretty much treated as like a face. But they still kind of share them, you know. Like if someone dies, they'll be like,
Yeah.
I'll use that, you know.
All right.
So it's
Yeah,
like, I don't know,
anyways.
because I think it would be more varied in what they would actually think.
What story were we talking about again?
Yeah, I have one more
There was a story?
point to say about the story that I've been waiting to say.
I am so sorry.
So in Mangaya, Makuta is reflecting on the Toa's absolute victory over him at the end of Minog and their victory over the Shadow Toa. And
I
comments on
absolutely love this section.
yeah, and he's thinking like, you know what? It's time for the Bohrok. They're gonna mess things up for for everyone up there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit this one out. This is gonna be my. I'm just gonna. You gotta. I'm gonna take Quentin Reviews' advice. I'm just gonna take 2 months out of a year to just. This is just me time.
I particularly love how it specifically starts off in this section as he's just like floating around naked in his chamber.
Oh yeah, and he
As
goes
he's
into the
a little fart
Shadow Titan
cloud.
armor.
Yeah, he just has his body just like sitting in a cupboard somewhere with his mask on a shelf, and he's just walking around his lair completely naked.
So that was the end of chapter 1 of the Bohrok Wars.
The Barack Obama?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And okay, moving on to the Joe Biden wars.
Bohrok Vakama.
We don't talk about the orange guy.
All right.
The
So
Kitongu Wars?
I guess everyone has said what they wanted to say about the Bohrok Wars so far. Or is there anything else we haven't said yet?
Kitongu was a terrible president.
Pretty much.
More Bohrok Wars to come.
Yes,
Indeed.
I'm looking forward to it.
Get hype.
I'm
Yeah.
already hype. I can't get any more hype, man.
I think so. For the Tahu section, we don't. I think the canon mentions that there is an incident where the Tamatoran. A lot of these are pulling from things that have been laid out in canon, like where the Tamatoran discover that the Bohrok don't have prana, or where they name them goat dogs, and which is something that's referenced in the animations, but we never find out how they're named, or tunnel foxes too. I think there's one other thing there. But then Kopaka that's going back and illustrating something that's alluded to in the books, but not really shown. And then it kind of sets up Perry's animation of Escape from Kokoro, and which I pretty much consider basically canon, because it's an exceedingly well done production. So if anyone has the time who hasn't seen it, should definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's a
Definitely.
shame she hasn't done more of those. Unfortunately, it sounds like she doesn't have a lot of time these days.
I think there's one with Pohatu and Kopaka in development, but I don't know
Ooh,
how far along that.
I will have to
Or
ask her about that.
If there still are plans to actually go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that was. But then the Makuta section, I know. I don't think Makuta's ever visited at any point in the 2002 narrative. I think some versions of some media imply that he's defeated altogether in 2001. So and then by 2003, we get some glimpses in the Bohrok Hell saga where he appears during the
At the end, yeah.
Rahinui fight. And
What?
then we know for sure that he's still alive, and we may even get some narration of him in his chambers for Cal. But then he obviously does reappear in full in the Rakushi saga. But 2002, we don't see him at all. So this is getting a glimpse of his.
Filling a little gap of Makuta. We're checking in on him. How's he doing? He's doing not good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I really remember from
he's going to catch up on he's going to catch up on his favorite YouTuber. He uploaded a 30-hour long retrospective on the Beverly Hillbillies. He's going to check up on that. He's going to watch that, and then it's going to take him a few years to get through it, and then he's going to get right back on the Toa's asses.
He's just good. He spent the entirety of 2002 just watching Mahler's review of Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Actually, the headcanon I subscribe to is that he's actually really holy, and he's really into Huki specifically.
Yes,
like he has money writing on it. Yeah, like he's just on his lazy boy watching the match, and he's like, "Come on, Kokoro scored. What the hell?"
Wow, I can really see what Maku sees in him.
He's trying to break Maku and Hafu up so he can get with Hafu.
There's just a love triangle between Huki, Maku, and Makuta.
I want this incorporated into canon.
Anyway.
Yeah, special plans for Huki, but not Maku.
No. Anyway, moving on to someone's favorite story for this episode. It's time to get into the web. Oh.
Hell yeah.
There's webs, and we're going to get into them.
Mm.
Surfing the web?
Yeah.
Right away, when this story begins, it starts off with one of my favorite 01 to 03 tropes. The Turaga off doing shady shit.
I love when they do that.
Something new has been found on the island, and the Turaga have to go poking around in it to make sure nobody finds anything they're not supposed to.
That's true. So they go to the Bohrok chamber, and they're like, all right, let's see what we're working with here. And they rummage around, and they find the Bohrok Call remains for some of them, except Levi Call. He's gone for eternal space tourism.
They say if you look up at the moon, you can still hear it screaming.
Yeah. I am eternally upset that Greg had to say that Levat Cal was very specifically killed when the GSR launched, because I wanted to bring him back. We had a whole joke in the Vision of the Great Being story Bible that was just the book of Levat Cal.
We can still bring him back.
Retcon! You have that power.
Always bring him back.
Retcon! You have that power.
That goes against what we want to do with this.
I ordered you to retcon it. I will give you a wedgie.
Anyway,
I will give you a wedgie so bad.
The story pretty much says that all the Chronical were ejected from the suits. So, in theory, that Chronical is still kicking.
There's also the idea that I think we came up with a theory before that kind of tracks, as far as I know, that specifically that one comic where Pohatu and Onua were facing off against, I think it was Tanot Cal, and they defeat him. And then another, like a Bohrok Va, comes along and gives him another Chronical. From that point onward, he's still the same individual Tanakh Cal, which tells me that
I'm glad you mentioned this.
The Chronocal have their own hive mind. So even if one Chronocal dies, any remaining ones will still contain that individual's mind.
What
I'm not sure about that.
What if they're just plural?
What were you going to say, Max?
No, because here's the thing. I thought about this years ago, and I came to the conclusion that the Bohrok must have two minds. They have their own, which is programmed in their head, which is what they express, and the Chronocal have their own consciousness. Because here's the thing: if you got the different Chronocal, then it would be a different individual, right? But it's not. You know, so logically, the Bohrokal's personality is actually like contained within their like mech frame. You know,
I mean,
maybe. I mean, that might explain why normal Krana are specifically unable to pilot a Bohrok Va, or a Bohrok Cal, rather.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's how I think it works. I think they're like two separate minds that kind of like work in conjunction with each other.
I was gonna say that with the Krana kind of being a parallel to the Kanohi in a way, the idea does seem to make sense to me that the body has the consciousness sort of built into it, and the Krana is what powers up the consciousness, gives it the ability to actually function, much like a Kanohi. The Matoran has the consciousness in the body, but without the Kanohi, nothing's actually making that go.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what I think is important, because like the Bohrok, it's already shown that they work differently from regular Bohrok, and I think this is one way that they work differently from regular Bohrok. Whereas like in regular Bohrok, they don't have like an inherent consciousness, like a personality, you know, to their frame. Yeah. They're not like really alive. But
anyways, the point. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but the Krana, but in their case, the regular Krana are their consciousness, but the Bohrok have their own individual identities, and the Chronocal are also sentient.
I think maybe it can be said that the Krana provide like a basic hive mind intelligence, but the actual individual intelligence for the Kal is granted to them by their construction.
Right. But what more to the point, before we found out that Levi Cal was very specifically dead, there was a point early on in development for the Powers That Be, where it was, I don't know if it was seriously considered, but we had certainly joked about the idea of at one point, Levi Cal just crashes into the Red Star, and now he's part of the team.
It was seriously considered.
I actually wrote a story about this. I would have loved
that! That sounds hilarious! I want an alternate story where that happens! I want an alternate universe story where that happens!
Yeah, so a few years ago, I got BC to draw some artwork of the Levi Cal crashing into the planet. And the story I decided was, it was some random, the Reformation has happened, we've got Ferris Magna now, and the Levi Cal just decides, fuck this shit, and does a Superman, flies around Ferris Magna, turns back time, and just takes out Valika. It was
That's so silly.
Stupidest story. I wrote it like on my break at work. Yeah, it was amazing.
Well, I've been trying to find that story for the past couple years. I was looking for, because I remember you published it on this very obscure Bionicle wiki, and leading up to that, I'd seen you and Bond publishing these blogs about how we're going to do this and this, and these are going to be the plans. I was so hyped. I was like, let's do this. I'm so excited. It's going to be such a cool continuation. And then you published just the one chapter and said Bond had accidentally deleted the rest and was furiously typing it up again.
Okay.
I was so excited to see it.
If you still have this, I need you to publish this to MNL on next April Fool's Day.
Deal.
That would be pretty funny.
This is what we're going with.
This is the new vision of the great beings.
Yeah,
Maybe I can like record an audiobook version of it.
You're right. The powers that should be.
That's an amazing title, actually.
That's what it was called.
Oh yeah, it's so fucking good. Whoops. Anyway,
Never forget.
all right.
I didn't even know it was a joke until years afterwards. I thought it was real.
The powers that be, or the powers that are.
I
All
love
right.
it.
Let's
I'm
continue.
seeing the artwork of the server now. Oh, that is beautiful.
Yes. Anyway,
love
enough
it.
about silliness. It's time for seriousness. So they look at the remains of the Bohrok hull and they're like, Onua's like, let's give this to Nuparu. He's smart. He's a smart guy. So they give it to him. And that's really nice, you know?
Give it to Nuparu?
Yeah, they give the remains of the Bohrok hull that they can scrounge up to Nuparu and say, hey, make something nice with this
Study
stuff.
these.
And
Study all
the
this stuff. We don't have any specific thing in mind. Just go nuts.
Yeah.
Also, I want to touch on the fact that, like, just before this, we see Nuparu just like having a meeting with Takua, and he's briefing him on the wall of geology, which I guess is a new thing now. And he's talking to Takua about all the other villages, and all I can think of, and I have in my notes, is you get a wall, and you get a wall. Everyone gets a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was actually a bit of headcanon that existed before the recent interview with Peter Mack, where he was talking about the walls and how they related to the three Matoran virtues. So this was actually a separate headcanon before we even knew about that, where you have each village has a wall and they all do different things, and everyone has a guardian that watches over them.
Convergent thinking.
Yeah. My wall just holds up the roof.
My walls barely do that.
My wall has an air conditioner in it, and if I turn the air conditioner off, I die.
But yeah, geography really works for Onukoro. And I think this chapter establishes it's similar to the Gakoro Wall of Stars in a really creative way by saying that relies on the stars, but you can't see them.
I quite liked to hear the explanation of how all the walls
Well, the walls, what?
About how the walls come.
each other.
Oh, yeah.
How they complement each other. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's a duality, so two walls are paired for past, one for future.
Yeah, for a different aspect
That
of
is
like
that is
civilization.
typically how walls work. Walls don't work unless they're complemented.
Walls don't work unless they come.
That's right.
Liam, that's enough
Have
out
you
of
ever
you.
tried? Have you ever tried building? Have you ever tried making a building with just one wall? It doesn't work unless wait. They're
Igloo.
bus stops. They're bus stops like that.
Igloo.
Igloos. I'm literally playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just Pokemon Violet right now, and the Pokestop, the Pokemon centers are like it's like a convenience store type dealie that it's like there's like one wall. Wait, hold on. Am I misremembering what the buildings look like in the game I'm literally playing? I have ADHD.
So
Yeah.
currently my wall has a sign on it that just says days with recordings spent without referencing Pokemon, and the counter is now ticked back to 0.
A wall divided
It goes
against
back to 0
itself
with
cannot
each
wall.
episode.
A wall divided against itself cannot wall.
All right. So Onua summons Nuparu to his hut, and he gives him an assignment to go explore the Bohrok hull nest. Because not the chamber of the Bohrok, but their nest where they came from in the comic, where they wrote on the wall in English.
That I love that so much. I brought that up with Gonel the other day because I tend to talk to Gonel in private about some of these things because it's so seldom that our schedules actually align. I didn't think he was actually going to be on the episode. So I just mentioned, like, that is so funny how it was not only just one of those little things that nobody asked for, nobody even thought anything of it. but it's just there.
Now it's
And
been acknowledged.
It's been contextualized as like an ancient Matoran dialect or something.
Ancient
Matoran
dialect.
script.
Also, Nuparu builds a boxer Cal, and I need somebody to mock this.
Add some silver to it.
Yep, it's a boxer that can fit, because apparently by this point in canon, they've been rebuilt. And he doesn't fit in the regular one anymore.
Yeah.
This is a new one.
Indeed,
that he can fit in. And it's a prototype it gets messed up in this story or next story.
But we'll get to that when it happens.
It gets messed up, so he doesn't make any more, and that's that. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, exactly. So he takes his boxer to Liwahi and discovers the nest. Unfortunately, he falls into it. It's not very graceful. Or rather, he falls into the hole, which is the entrance to the nest. Something like that.
Yeah. It's like very loosely covered up with some sticks or something.
How convenient.
It's like a single branch stretched across it.
And then he's exploring it. He's like, oh wow, look at this. And he finds the nest.
Bohrok Kaita for some reason.
That's cool. Anyway. You never see that happen. I need a story where they exist. That's what I need.
Yeah.
The Bohrok Wars coming soon.
I hope so. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But you guys know more than me. Anyway, so he's like, wow, look at that writing on the wall with the pictures of the Takanuva. That's crazy. And then he gets jumped by a spider.
Which is very, again, similar to Enemies of Metru Nui, where they bring in characters and creatures that are either not canon or not previously touched on. This is actually the Bohrok combiner.
It is?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. I didn't recognize it. I'm looking it up. I know you told me not to type anymore, not to type on my keyboard anymore, my loud clicky clacky keyboard, but I need to look this up and I don't want to use my phone.
Well then.
Well, how about I just post it?
I'm so bad at this.
Somebody else post a picture of it.
Oh wow, this doesn't look like a spider at all. Wow. This actually I don't get it.
It looks like spider.
I don't.
That's it's the Bohrok spider is the fan name that's noted on BSO1, which is why it's what we ended up going with. But here's the link to the site page, and I'll post a picture as well.
Thank you for the spider.
Strange model, but it is. I don't think I've ever actually built that one.
I don't know if I've even seen it.
Well, now there's a reason to build it because it appears in something.
Yeah, and
you can make it for a display.
I think it's one of the few left that hasn't been touched on at all in canon, because even the Makuta Nui set represents an ash bear, kind of.
Yeah.
At least. So. Yeah, I wanted to knock this out. I'm telling you, a lot of these stories are just kit-bashed ideas that we're playing with. Wanted to have a new part adventure, throw in some Bohrok Kata and boxers and cow and nests.
It's like a lot of good concepts come from here's this thing that's just odd and neglected. Let's build a story around it.
Here's this combiner model that wasn't used in any media. Exactly. And I think
Next we got to do one. Next we got to do one for the Japanese Rakshi combiners.
Oh, scary.
Anyway, one for the Hydraka.
What about that one? Tokusatsu Bohrok Va?
Yeah, there were a lot of weird
combiner. Yeah,
there were a lot of weird combiners for the Bohrok and Rakshi from Japan and Korea.
They had fun, man.
They were infinitely better than the ones we got.
They were jamming.
Yeah.
Then you had to have fun.
Yeah. Anyway.
Girls just want to have fun.
They do.
I want to see the Taraga Nui in something too.
Yeah, they never really. They never really do anything.
They appear.
They appear.
They
They-
appear.
Never mind.
They do.
Nope,
do
nope,
appear.
nope. They don't. They don't. No. Don't forget what
okay.
I said.
Oh,
I-
interesting.
I need confirmation on this. I always think of the Turaga as being physically less strong than Matoran. They have more access to elemental energy than Matoran, but they're physically less strong.
That does sound
Is
about.
it-
I think it was mentioned in canon that a Turaga Nui has about as much power as one normal Toa.
Yes, the Turaga Nui is strong, but a Turaga by itself is not.
Yeah.
They're just frail, old people.
Strong in the ways
Frail.
of death.
I also want to
Frail,
see.
sad, aged.
I also want to see a Toa Nui at some point.
The funny thing is
Too much
that
power.
if you were to combine all 6 of the Toamata, that would make a Toamata Nui.
I don't know. I had enough of you.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they can't. That can't happen because Tahu is. I mean, I forgot.
He's normal.
We're in
He's
the,
normal, but
we're in the
not.
past.
But anyway,
We're in the
we're starting to
past.
get
We can do
sidetracked,
anything
guys.
now.
I'm gonna.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's not your fault. Everyone is at fault this time.
Hmm.
Shame
my
on you
best.
all. No, I'm just joking. I'm just playing. But anyway, I do gotta move it along. So he's attacked by the giant acid spider, and he's like, "Go away, please." But then he realizes that it's just defending its own home, and he's the intruder. Which is kind of not nice.
This is an allegory about America and its view of immigrants.
And then he has a very slight flashback to Metro Nui.
He does. I like here how he takes the opportunity because the spider he uses the fact that it's not exactly smart to sort of gamble on the chance that when he left the Boxer, it wouldn't recognize that he was part of that other creature that was attacking it. To sort of allow him to maybe make a new friend here, gonna not have this spider want to kill every single Mator it ever sees.
And then even if it did recognize him as part of the same thing, it wouldn't recognize him as a threat being so much smaller.
But yes, so he ejects from the Boxer and it gets destroyed by the acid spider, and and that's when the spider's like, "Well, you're not a threat anymore. You're just kind of cute," and then it goes off back to its corner.
He's just like, what? This should be cataloged, and he then thinks like, wait, why did I think that?
Yeah, I found
This
that
would be
quite
great for the
interesting.
archives.
What?
What are the what the heck are the
What
archives?
are those?
Those
He's
are
like, I'm
shoes.
just
What are
thinking
shoes?
nonsense. So later in the future, after Makuta has been absolutely slam dunked on by Takanuva in a game of Koli.
No, this is before that.
No. We're moving on.
Because he's building the Usanui.
Oh shit! Whoops.
Yeah.
I
Because we get to the
look
point
like
where
a fool. Sorry, I was getting confused with our final story.
that there is a bit of a time skip, but it's to after Takua becomes Takanuva.
I
and
got too
he summons-
excited. I'm sorry.
He summons Nuparu to the Kininui to help him build the Usanui.
You're right.
And because he started having flashbacks to before the time slip, which gave him very loose blueprints as to how to build this thing, which I guess was given to him by the Helrix or someone.
The Omen.
And he comes up with the name it's like a big Usul crab. Usul Nui?
Usanui. I like it.
Yeah.
Usanui.
And I think the knowing will come was dropped at some point as well.
Yeah. So yeah.
I thought that was this was my favorite of the bunch, just because it's a prime example of what can be done with period pieces written within the context of the series as a whole, writing a story with knowledge of events that hadn't even been conceptualized at the time of the original stories these are based on were created, but doesn't not going overboard with the member berries.
So yeah, the Usunui is just starting to be built, and that's pretty much the end. What are our thoughts on Into the Web?
I hate myself, but I love this story.
Yeah, it was, I think, probably my favorite of the bunch this week.
I think I quite liked the bit in the last chapter where he first sees Takua in his new Takanuva form, and he thinks to himself that he resembles the 6 great heroes of Matanu. But it goes back on itself and says, no, he was a hero of Matanu.
Yeah.
Which also echoes the line from when the Rahaga gets turned back into the Toahag. You were always heroes, you just now look the part.
And I believe that the Toahaga will come up again later.
Yeah.
In the future.
In the future.
I will touch on this later, of course, when we get to relevance. But Bob, that's a deep cut that you put in there. I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, I'll get into that more, but it actually links pretty well to what you were saying about adding these notes after the fact before they'd even been conceptualized in 2003.
Yeah,
like the wider context we know from the story, like being able to go back and put these nuggets into a story to foreshadow after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
What I really like about this story as well is it's about Nuparu, and Nuparu at this point in time hadn't had a lot of screen time. Like he was in the Bohrok animations and he was in set form, but kind of have to explain away why Onepu and Maku didn't go on to become Toa Inai. You have to explain why Nuparu has a bigger story impact, and a story like this of him doing a dungeon crawl really demonstrates why he is bigger character.
I also do like the it in a way it feels like, I mean, I guess the Barreg fight with the Toamata is very similar, but it kind of clicked more with me for this one that this feels kind of like an Alien reference where you've got like him and the power loader fighting the Xenomorph Queen.
Yeah. I mean, Alien is all over the Bohrok saga.
True.
It really must have been an influence.
Face hugging. Shall we move on to the next story? Relevance.
Right?
Yes.
Relevance.
Yes, because we got just over an hour before our hard cutoff.
Indeed. We're doing pretty good, though.
Are we?
I think so. We've only got 2 more to go.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true, well. But we also take a long time.
Yeah, but
so
also
let's take
practically
time now and get going.
You're right.
I just want to say real quick. Practically every episode, I've cut out at least 20 minutes of fluff, so I think we'll be fine.
Fair enough.
I'm still gonna do my best. Anyway,
down.
So
we only do our best.
It's time for the relevant discussion about relevance.
Relevance.
So in Pauahi, Galakal is fighting Liwa, Tahu, and Pohatu. And they're losing real bad.
They're losing so bad.
So badly that their masks just get yeeted across the whole damn island.
Yeah, Galakal summons their masks from their face using their magnetism powers, throws them in the air, and scatters them across the landmass.
It's like the G2 animations where Polta just smacks all their masks off in one blow.
Oh dear, oh dear.
The sheer force behind this, too. Like, I don't quite remember where exactly they're having this fight, but it does genuinely sound like their masks were thrown so far that they ended up on, like, complete opposite corners of the island.
Yeah, it's
I have I've got an editor's note that is confirming exactly where they did all end up that I'll tell you at the end. But
okay.
Thank you, my friend.
They were pretty much
we know where one of them. Well, we know where one of them ended up.
Yeah,
exactly. So they do a walk of shame to Pokoro, But
They
before
do
that,
indeed. I
they
like that.
replaced their mask with other Konohi they've found, and it was Pohatu had a cow, Tauhu had an akaku, and Liwa had a pakari. And what I liked was how they were the Konohi of the other Toanuva that were not there for that fight.
Yeah.
Took me a few minutes to realize that while I was reading that. Took me until Onua started talking to them. It was like, hey, you need to shut your mouths and learn what other Toa are doing. I don't know what I was doing there.
I'm not sure either.
You're doing
Yes.
an Onua impression.
Well, back in my day, we were appreciating our masks and all that, except when
We had to learn how to use
were
them.
complaining constantly.
Except when they were made by Vakama, then we didn't create them.
Yeah, actually, back in my day, we complained about everything all the time. Basically, I'm exactly like everyone else who complains about things being better back in their day. I am actually talking up my butt.
Yes. So they do the walk of shame to Pokoro, and they find him, and he's like carving a statue of someone, and he's like, "I'm just fulfilling a promise I made to an old friend."
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite little deep cuts. I think it was from Web of the Vizarok. I'm having trouble finding it now, but it was very specifically when the Toa Hordika first encounter the Rahaga, and Onua specifically states, I'm having trouble finding the exact quote right now, but it's something along the lines of, "Tell us how to reverse this one, and I will personally build a field of statues in your honor."
Oh, that's nice.
That is a deep cut.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
I like to think that Toa came back a few years later and they're like, where are the statues?
Well, about that, are you
They
familiar
got destroyed.
with
Bohrok.
But anyway, so yes. So, he kind of gives them a stern talking to. It turns out they recovered, was it the Kakama, I think?
Leiwa's Kakama, I think,
Yeah, so they recovered Pohatu's mask. But he was like, no, I'm not giving this back to you until you can prove you can get rid of the Galok Kal. And they're like, but so hard. And he said, well, you gotta think of a strategy, boy.
And they do.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, it's the Miranuva, actually.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
It's Liwa's Miranuva, not
no,
Liwa's Kakama Nuva. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you're right.
No.
I'm silly. I'm a silly guy.
A silly goose.
Exactly.
I think wasn't it Levi who said that?
I did indeed. I said Kakama.
Yeah.
I said,
are you blaming yourself?
You're right. You're right.
You're blaming yourself for what Levi says.
Yeah, undo.
No, but I was also thinking that, though. That's the thing.
Why can't we all just get with the picture and blame me for all of our problems?
So, fucking, whoops, I'm not supposed to say that. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm distracted by a spider web I just spotted in my office. So I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, it's hot in here, Jesus. Anyway.
It's getting hot in here.
You gotta you gotta beat the Galak Call.
My brain is
like,
mush. Hold on, it's rebooting.
And they're like, but you gotta though. And they're like, okay. And then they do it.
Well, not quite yet.
Okay, so yes, so they go off and do stuff. Now the action changes to the other Toanuva who are fighting the other Bohrok Call using the masks of the main Toa in this story. Which is very funny.
I hadn't noticed that, actually.
Yeah, they're all swapped.
It's
and they're like,
Freaky
haha.
Friday.
It's time to collect the mask packs.
Yeah.
This was an advertisement for the Konohi mask packs.
Especially because two of the masks, especially important because two of the masks are specifically unhelpful seem like they would be specifically unhelpful in fighting in the desert.
That
Right.
seemed very irrelevant.
Yes. Question,
Leave
Your Honor.
right now.
Question, Your Honor. Bang, bang. Relevance.
so,
Final
so
drop.
yes, speed running that, so it was Kopaka fighting the Bohrok, and Bohrok's been messing stuff up, which is really not nice, melting stuff.
Well, one thing I quite like about this story that I, again, kind of went over with Gonel and DMs is that it's nice to see the Bohrok Cal actually doing things for once.
Yeah,
Because
really,
in the actual canon stories, what their characterization and their actual actions around the island basically just when they're not in direct combat with the Takanuva, their actions basically amount to where Bohrok.
It's their job.
They're really on third quest.
I love the Bohrok Hall, and whenever the Bohrok Hall aren't on screen, I'm asking myself, where are the Bohrok Hall?
Well, I love the headcanon in here too, that although they aren't Bohrok, and I mentioned this to Vahkiti, although they aren't Bohrok, using fire and water and earth and everything, we still see the climate change effects that their powers, although it doesn't seem obvious at first, we're seeing that they're still having a cleaning effect.
Yeah, their primary mission is to reawaken the Bohrok, but their secondary mission is to
climate change.
To do the thing that the Bohrok wanted.
Yeah.
Do the thing that Bohrok were doing. Bohrok was supposed to be doing stuff.
Again, for another note that I brought up with Gonel, it's like that's one thing I would like to see more of in the Bohrok Wars moving forward is the Bohrok has as devastating and widespread of a threat as they supposedly are. In the actual story, the vast majority of the damage that they cause is contradictorily so localized. Like you never hear of a swarm of Bohrok rampaging through Lewahi, displacing Rahi populations, which causes chaos in some other region. It's just something happens in Lewahi, and it stays in Lewahi and doesn't affect anything else.
We get some brief snatches in the Wall of History, but outside of that, some descriptions and combiner sets, that's it.
Yeah.
And these stories are really doing that, and I love it. Mm-hmm. But I especially love that we're getting more about the Bohrok Hall, because I love the Bohrok Hall, because they're so strong, and they're also really fun as villains, because they're like, yeah, I want to do this thing, but also I'm having fun with it. It's really fun kicking these people's asses and fighting these MacGuffins.
And I mean, just about anything you can do to them will be an improvement over what they had in the actual canon, because like it or not, they were objectively, this has been stated by people who actually worked on the series, they were placeholders. They were throwaway villains that were only created because Mask of Light was taking too long to develop.
Well, they did a good job.
And for
like the
placeholders,
a lot.
they were good. For placeholders, they did a good job.
They're also the first villain characters that really speak. Of course, you got Makuta, but you've had like Rahi, you've had Bohrok that can't actually communicate with the Toa. You can't have like witty banter or like back and forth, no zingers or anything. Yeah, exactly.
Like the Bohrok were communicating, but that was like right at the end of that arc, anyways.
Yeah. Now you get trash talk.
Yeah, during the whole story.
They're individuals,
trash talking Bohrok. That's their whole personality.
Exactly. Well, that's what they were in the comic. What I love about this chapter especially, because the original version of Relevance is 3 chapters, and I actually went back in 2021 and I added chapter 3 to give some perspective as to what the other Toa were doing, why they couldn't be in this story, and just snapshots of what was going on in their regions. And as you're saying, I really wanted to bring in problems of Owahi affect Onua, the problems of like this volcanic runoff, the swamp spreading, the
Mm.
tropical rainstorms in Pauahi, like these climate issues are impacting the rest of the island. And what I also wanted to kind of communicate is, while the Matoran are thinking this is because Toa have lost their connection to their elemental powers, the Raga maybe think this is Makutas. These aren't just random anomalies. There's purpose behind these.
I feel like this is a common theme with some of the stories that you've written as well, where it's like, this is good. Let's add like 4 extra chapters now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it does seem to turn out for the better because of it. So like no points docked for that. Like, you know, if you think it needs more, it turns out really well when the more is added.
Yeah, I'm much happier with the current version of Relevance. Originally was
more
a much shorter story.
More Bohrok call!
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's I'm really happy as well with Kopaka's line here. So he spends he doesn't really say anything for his whole section until the end, where he just says, "Get off my mountain." That's the last thing.
Yeah, I did. I also really liked just like the little snapshots. That's cool. I think that sort of style is like underrated. I like a little short and sweet kind of like vignettes. You know, it's nice.
Yeah.
Not everything, as I kind of brought up in episode 2 when we were like rapid firing through a bunch of stuff. Not everything needs to be Vision of the Great Beings.
Yeah, not everything needs to be a big epic thing. Some things are simple, and they're still very effective.
Yeah.
Sometimes the effectiveness of a story is in its simplicity.
Yeah.
I like it. I would like to see more of this.
Yeah, well, you'll get your wish for the next part of this chapter.
Did we actually mention that the reason the story is called Relevance is the Toa don't think they're relevant without their powers?
We did not, but yes, thank you for bringing it up. That is why it's called Relevance.
It's also metatextually, this was the very first story I wrote for Myth and Legacy, and it was the first time I'd written canon compliant content. So
interesting.
You did a good job.
The relevance of the Toa, it was the relevance of even writing canon stories.
You did a good job, Mr. Meta Man.
I did. And the response was so overwhelmingly positive, it kind of led to the creation of Myth and Legacy and just more canon stories. Apparently it's very relevant. Oh, okay.
Hell yeah.
It's very much a prototype.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not hyperbole to say that Vision of the Great Beings probably wouldn't exist without this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it makes sense because it's like there's no official way we're getting like new official Bionicle media set in this original continuity. Because like all the creatives don't work with Lego anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like it's like the community is the only people who can make new stories set in this original world.
And I think the community is largely once the community realized that, I think it was after not too long after G2 that people started to realize that even if Lego did start doing Bionicle again, it wouldn't be what any of us wanted because, at least according to them, there just isn't a place for it anymore. Mm-hmm. So nobody else is going to do it, so we just have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, if we want new Bionicle stories that are like, feel official, we got to make them ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is what I set out to do with this. So I wrote this in about a week at the end of college. Like I did my final dissertation. I finished up college, and I had this story rattling around in my head for like the last couple months. And as soon as I handed in that essay, I just started writing this, and I pumped it out in like a couple days. Came back later to add some more content, revise a few parts. But when you have that creative impulse, you have that snapshot of what you want to write, it leads to something like this, and you just embrace the world.
We've definitely reached a point in not just in the community and our attitudes in general, but just like technologically speaking as well, like, we have the skills and the knowledge to write these stories, but we also have 3D printing technology becoming far more accessible, 3D modeling and game design technology being more accessible. So now we can write our own stories, we can make our own parts, we can make our own games and short films and whatever.
We can make our own sets.
Lego who? who needs Lego, right?
Yeah.
Especially
you can
now that
make
we've
your
got
own games in it.
God, that's a reference. Relevant, even. No, but
You'll be happy to know that Jonah is still alive. I saw him playing Helldivers 2 the other day on Steam.
yeah. But what was I gonna say? Crap.
We have the technology.
Come to the flower shop.
But yeah, we don't really need Lego for these kind of things anymore, especially now that we have, Greg sort of loosely overseeing things, and we can refer back to him whenever we want to confirm, like, if something is in line with his ideas.
Yeah, it gives us that extra sense of like authenticity that we wouldn't have had before, like in like the first half of the 2010s before G2.
Yeah,
I do agree with my loud annoying headmate Shadarina about retconning the Levi call being alive still, because I do think the Screaming Moon is a fun bit of mythology.
Wait, Screaming Moon? What?
The Levi call being
satellite,
just orbiting the planet still. It just there's the Matoran after the Great Reformation. The Matoran and the Agori formed a new myth about the Screaming Moon. Some say that if you look up at the moon, you can hear it screaming.
Yes. Anyway, I'm gonna have to move this along to the last part of relevance.
Indeed.
All right. So
before we do, I just want to mention the Dali part. One thing I'm really proud of for this part is this is the only instance in the entire story that I can find of the Mizuni rotors being named. There are little tellers on the Takanuva set.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's one thing I hadn't realized as well. When they actually do appear in Mask of Light, but it's very
they come out of her wrist.
Yeah, and I had not noticed that before until I saw I think it's Gabby96, or I forget the number at the end of his name, but he's the guy working on the movie model that he's releasing very soon. And he did so much meticulous frame by frame looking through Mask of Light to find these things. And yeah, it's like in that scene when she's swimming away from the Kininui, there's like a little hatch on her wrist that opens and the rotors kind of pop out of it. I never noticed that. Yeah, her mask, like the vents on her mask expand like gills, and it brings it closer to resembling the actual set version of the mask. Little details that I never noticed in like 20 years of watching that movie over and over and over again.
I need to look out for that.
Yeah.
I would look it up, but my keyboard is loud and I don't want to use my phone.
But yes. So, Galakal is in the late afternoon.
OP as heck.
Yes, he's along the edge of the shoreline of Powaki. Right? It's still Powaki, I think.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Is it Ava Bay, like the very most northern tip of the island?
Yeah. That's what they said.
Where
he's looking around with his Metroid Prime HUD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Metroid Prime. In the original draft, I had like the actual phrase "morph ball." It shifted into morph ball mode.
So it's revealed that Tanakal instructed the Bohrok to also search for the Konohinuva to kind of just like delay the Toanuva in like stopping them, or generally just make them less effective than they could be. Which is smart. That's good strategy, as Onua would say.
Yeah.
So they're looking and they kind of find a trace of the Takanuva in the sand. They're like, And here's something that I like. It shifts into ball mode, and what made me realize, I was like, that sounds weird, and it felt weird to me because it's never been like explicitly stated in like prose, like in media. That's like in the comics. There isn't a moment where they shift into the ball mode. There isn't, and in the novels they never do it. It's only shown in animation.
Naughty children got the ball wiggler.
Yeah. So I saw it here and I was like, that sounds weird, but I know this is normal, but like, huh? And that's when I realized, like, this has never actually like been stated to happen in the story.
Yeah, it's different in prose for sure.
Yeah, it's never happened in prose, at least, and and I thought in comics, like, it didn't happen in the comics either. We just never see it happen in any of the panels, but like, we only see it in the Bohrok animations and like the advanced animations for the commercials. Anyway, I thought that was cool.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize that actually. I mean, yeah, like it's not Kyle's animation. It's Levi Kyle's animation where he's rolling down the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
In ball mode that comes to mind. But I don't think, other than the Bohrok like shooting out of the map, there's really another instance of.
Yeah, it's never like described, and it's never shown in like a comic or like, and it's never shown in anything where that's depicting the actual Toa's struggles against the Bohrok.
Yeah,
besides like images, we got plenty of images of it. Just nothing that's an actual like story.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be one of the first then, actually, to put it in 10.
It finally happened, and that's exactly what made me notice. It was just like I read it and I was like, that sounds weird. It sounds new. I've never heard this described before.
If I made stop motions, for some reason, I always wanted to make a stop motion animation of Pohatu fully powered fighting Parrot Call.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I just wanted to. I don't know why.
That'd be pretty cool.
So Galakal's strolling around and finds the remains of a cracked Tanok faceplate, and is like, "Oh wow, that's unfortunate.
How could this have happened?"
Yeah, it's hoping it's a mask. It's hoping it's a Toa new mask. The Bohrok.
Just a dead old Bohrok.
What?
It's just a dead baby.
I have referred to this character with three. I have referred to this character with three different pronouns in one sentence. What are the Bohrok calls?
I mean, I think the Bohrok Cal are technically genderless.
Yeah, they're not really people. They're machines.
Okay, based.
Yeah,
based. I relate.
Yeah, they are objects. So,
okay, so it got it.
Yes. So, we're just really whatever you want, I guess.
I just always assume she because blue.
Yeah, I've in my head I've been doing that as I was like, wait a minute, I've been brainwashed by Matoran society. Anyway. So, here's one of my favorite parts. I almost made the joke at the beginning of the episode about this moment. Tahu starts coming down the dune on his little lava surfboard, and right when he's about to do a kickflip, he gets absolutely bodied by the Galakal. And I love how it specifically says kickflip. And I was like, oh my god. Here comes the kickflip.
It's extreme
Just
sports.
imagining like
2000, you've got a kickflip.
It's just like Skate 3 where he just ragdolls down the hill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
or like Homestuck, where he is just flipping down like told you about the stairs, bro.
Tahu is Steezus. Anyway.
Our Lord and Savior.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So
so he does before he can do the kickflip, he gets knocked off the board.
Best troll Jeebus.
So that's when he uses a kaku to find out that the Galakal has the Krana Jaw call in it, which made me happy because that's the Krana call my Galakal came with.
Same
Sounds
for
like,
me.
nice.
That's why I wrote it in.
Oh
And he
yeah,
quips.
It's also
and
the
he
reason-
quips he quips that he expected such a OP as fuck for a call to be the leader and have the leader Prana.
I think mine actually also came with a Jackal.
what are the odds?
Huh.
1 in 8.
I-
Those are
the-
the odds.
Oh well.
I only had a Tanakh call, and I don't remember what Prana was.
They were the Bohrok Cal were really hard to find when they were new. I don't know if stores just weren't stocking them because I can't imagine they were just flying off the shelves that quickly.
More Bohrok.
Yeah, we just
Money
had
was just
this
tight that
last year.
Money was just tight that year, I guess.
Anyways, moving on.
The main reason I put the Krana Jaw Cal was because the Kaita model was specifically called Bohrok Cal Kaita Jaw, which implies that it had a jaw somewhere in there. And I think from the animation we saw that Levi Cal had a zoo. And I forget. I feel like Bohrok Cal had a different one. So I did the math and I tallied that must mean that at least one of those component Bohrok Cal had a jaw.
Interesting.
I also like that throughout this story, the Bohrok call, the Galak call is actually using its Krana.
Yeah.
It does sweep as well. So it's sweeping the landscape.
So then Galakal gets absolutely jumped by Pohatu on a sea creature. Oh no, wait, that's not yet. Who's next? Likoro, right?
Lewa.
Oh,
Because
my
he
bad.
pops out of the bushes and throws a bunch of rocks at him.
Yeah, he's like,
Because he's got
You know?
he's got the Bakari, so he's strong.
Yeah.
yeah. So
The
he's throwing
Bakari
rocks.
is like slightly the most useful mask in the, not particularly against the Galak call, but compared to the other ones, slightly more useful mask.
So yes, and then
Big rocks.
Pohatu comes in riding a Takia shark, I think.
Tarakava.
Tarakawa. Yes,
Shark.
you're right. My bad. Oh my goodness gracious.
Boxing gloves.
Yeah, riding on the teal Tarakava.
How does
And-
Tarakava type with boxing gloves on?
Yeah, yes. And that's and then Galakal's like, how could this be?
Knuckles.
He doesn't chuckle. Uh-huh.
I heard that the Knuckles TV show came out and was bad. Anyway.
So during the struggle, the Galakal accidentally pulls out a Pakari Nuva, using their magnetism that was like hidden. And then Pohatu's like, I'm gonna yoink that and put it on my face. And then, Pohatu comes and absolutely just like kicks them with all their might with their feet edition. With their foot edition, I mean. And
They're
Yeah,
brass
sent it
feet
flying.
knuckles. They're brass toes.
their brass
Yes.
toes, yes. Their steel toe boots. So,
Why didn't I just say that?
I don't know. I was quicker on the draw.
He had the docks on.
Well, I
Yes,
said the
exactly.
thing that was. Well, I said the funny thing. You said the actual thing.
Yeah. So he kicks Galakal into the sea with their Doc Martens. And
Doc
Galak's just, going down, sinking far away, and is like, I gotta fix myself.
I do like that. The first thing that it thinks just new mission. Seek repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So armed with only the least useful masks available, they came. They saw. They conquered.
Yeah, they win. They win,
Yeah,
and they're like,
Galak-
let's not speak of this
Galak-
ever again.
Galak Cal gets absolutely yeeted all the way into the ocean.
Yeah.
Eat that bow.
That's
Eat
the
that
There's
bow.
back.
new directive. Seek repairs.
Eat that bow. Eat that bow.
I also this kind of like, how do I put it? When I was younger, I had a tendency to try and build models based on like random parts that in retrospect were very clearly kit bashed. For instance, I tried to build the two-toed Paraka foot was basically just a Galot Cal shield that was modified into a foot.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I ended up building in retrospect, kind of poorly built, hit mutated Galot Cal. So, alternate universe where Galot Cal after this just sinks down to the pit and turns into that thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
you have the
alternate
power to
universe.
make that. You have the power to make that happen.
Alternate universe where the Baraki swim up to the surface, witness this whole fight, and say, "Yeah, we're gonna go back down." A bit intimidated by the Toa.
Yes. Yeah. So they're like, let's not mention this to the other Toa. That's embarrassing.
Let's not
I'll tell the
mention
Frog at this
let's not mention us let's not mention us actually, beating a Bohrok call by ourselves because, that's because we had the wrong faces on. That was
No, I
embarrassing.
think it's more about the whole ordeal of losing their masks.
Yeah, losing your masks is embarrassing, but like.
But then you defeated it with the less masks.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
they just don't have to mention this at all.
Yeah, I think the exact wording is something along the lines of "Let's never speak of this again."
Let's
Yeah.
make sure the others never find out about
never
this.
find out about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, the very first draft I did, it used to be the case that the Galak Cal kept their Kanohi, so it magnetized the mask to its back or something, and then it rolled away.
That would not have worked.
Yeah, it wouldn't really have helped it to roll either.
Yeah,
Just imagine storytelling.
that's Gatherer's job.
Exactly.
And the Toa are supposed to collect their masks. That would violate canon if they literally can't collect their masks. Like
They have to recollect the masks they already have.
an alternate universe where the Galak Call keeps their masks.
Yeah. Alternate universe
It-
where the mask Pohatu finds is in a Akaku.
Yeah. Alternate
Anyway.
universe where the Galak Call keeps their masks is slightly less efficient at traversing the island because of it, but it is the Toa are so much less effective in battle without any masks.
Wow, this Miru makes a terrible codpiece.
Anyway, it's
We'll
time.
wrap
Up relevancy, guys.
It's time. That's the end of relevance.
Well, one
It is
more
now
thing.
irrelevance to the next thing. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing that is relevant. I'll say what happened to their mask. So,
Oh yes, I
as we
forgot
saw
about
in the
that.
story,
Tell me where they
as
went.
we saw, so Leiwa's mask ended up in Hawaii, and it was found by the Mahi shepherds. So Hatu's mask, it went
That's useful.
south, so it landed in Gawahi, and he had to search for it for like several days. Ahu's mask went like way north, like into the open ocean. And exactly how he reclaimed his mask without revealing the truth to Gali remains a mystery.
I smell shenanigans.
Uh-oh.
Relevant
He has to show up in Gekoro where he meets a Gali wearing the wrong mask, and he's like, I just need to just go over there, and you need to look. Hey, look over there! It's a distraction.
He goes
All right.
to charter a boat, and he has to find start each of those spaces. So he finds the mask.
Yes, we have 30 minutes left in recording.
We do indeed.
So it's time for the tale of Takanuva. Are we ready for the tale?
I love this one.
We are
I love
indeed.
this one so much.
Yeah, this one is just, what if Takanuva met the exposition fairy?
What if the exposition fairy showed up and Takanuva just told him to fuck off?
That'd be scary.
Just
All right.
shot at the exposition fairy and told him to go away.
Anyway,
They hated him because he spoke the truth.
Yes, I must get into the recap while we have time.
Indeed.
Yes.
So, Takanuva is walking through Mangaya, and he's like, wow, I'm remembering what my boy Jala said to me.
Mm.
And he's
having
there
flashbacks.
because he wants to go on a mission to kind of prove his worth. I think he's trying to seal the that old Rockshi, not the Rockshi, that old Krata cave from the comics that the Turaga had.
Yeah.
And
Which I do want to see a story at some point about how the hell they did that.
Skill. So then he gets attacked by a Monaco and
you
another
take a bunch
one.
of rocks, you put them in the doorway. Done.
The end.
Yes.
I specifically love how it's more obvious later in the story, almost to the point of being silly, but he beats the Monaco with a laser pointer.
Yeah,
They're
he does a
just
laser
giant
pointer thing.
cats.
And
They're
I'm just like,
giant cats.
Like a big kitty cat.
well, that's what they like, man.
Like
He is
right away,
basically-
I know
he is-
that is what we're doing for the thumbnail. We're just doing
He is
Monaco
basic-
cats.
He is basically the Toa of laser pointers. Can he actually shoot like a damaging laser beam?
Probably.
He first does that in this story. So there's a point in this story.
I think he
Yeah,
also
I-
does it in the first episode when we were reading Light on the Dunes.
Exactly, yeah.
I have
Well,
And
in
then
this story,
I
he
have
has
a
a
ver-
moment where he's asking himself, like, can this power even be used to damage anything? Like,
I have a very
Yeah,
short
really.
attention span.
Yes.
there's basically a point where he's like wondering whether he can even with his life. So it insinuates that he's not actually done anything like this before.
Yeah, he's only become like a Toa like a few days ago.
Yeah.
Well, the exposition fairy. Well, he could just ask the exposition fairy. Why doesn't
No,
he
he
ask
doesn't
the
know.
exposition fairy?
So he leads them away with the laser pointer, and that's when he's confronted by Krata Call, who is a dark hunter. Ooh. Our first
Krata,
dark
that
hunter
was
chronologically
thrown in-
from the
that was thrown into the
perspective
juice.
of their main heroes. Anyway. So, they go to the great chamber beneath Kininui, which is, Pterodax's main home. And Krata points out
His
the
man
Makoki
cave.
stone.
His shopping list.
Yeah, so he points out the Makoki stone and is like, hey, this has got names of the other Makuta. Takanuva's like, other Makuta? What?
This is like that cutscene in Metroid Fusion.
And I suppose you're telling me that there are more Rakshi and there are more than 13 Kanoe powers, hmm?
Yes. So it's essentially that he's learning. So the things he learns from Kratakala is that, there's at least 42 Rakshi. There's, excuse me, sorry. There's the other Makuta in existence, and there's more than 6 Matoran elements, which I guess would be Toa elements too.
The entire premise of this story is basically Kratakal walking up to Takanuva and just being like, you are like little baby, watch this.
Oh, Chronicle doesn't just tell him there are 42 different Rakshi. He shows him tanks full of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then just like almost by reflex, as if it's like the elemental energy equivalent of projectile vomiting, Takanuva just wipes out the entire chamber and
Yeah,
doesn't
it's like
even
laser.
realize what he's done.
Like,
Yeah, Protocol is like, so if the first 6, so you noticed how your Makuta has sent out 3 Rakshi and then sent out 3 more. Well, he was going to keep sending out 3 more over and over again until he reached all 42 of them, and these are them. He was going to send out more of these. More of these guys. And then Takanuva's like, oh, that's nice. Bam! They're dead. Well, now they're dead.
exactly.
Now they're dead.
Well,
Exactly.
Dark Destiny implies this actually draws on an implication in Dark Destiny where Jala sees this vision where he's died, and it suggests that Makuta was all set to keep sending them. So, yeah,
Yep.
Smart
absolutely.
connection.
And then Chronicle says something that really throws Takanuva off and makes him really doubt the whole thing. He's like, okay, now I know you're messing with me. He says Makuta wanted a Toa of Light to happen. Which it's definitely true, but it sounds made up.
And he goes on in great detail to explain exactly how this whole thing played out. And I think a couple of quotes from the last episode will actually put this into perspective. I think both of them are from Levi, actually. So clearly the Makuta influenced Vakama to leave his fire staff in Onukoro. And remember, kids, if something goes wrong, it's always Makuta.
It's always Robo Dayton.
This guy has enough of the puzzle put together and is showing it to Takanuva that just because this part doesn't make a whole lot of sense to him, it shouldn't mean that the whole rest of the puzzle doesn't make any sense either. Because the rest of the puzzle is pretty much assembled right in front of him.
Yeah, just to drive the point home even more, he takes Takanuva to this chamber where like everything is literally written on the walls. The writing is quite literally on the wall.
Everything that has ever happened has been storyboarded exactly as it happened.
Like it makes sense for Makuta's character, especially for how over the top he was made later in the series. It's to the point on bordering on absurdity, but it makes sense.
Everything is proceeding as he has foreseen.
Frankly, it makes that it even makes it make sense that he played Coley. He played Coley. He was like, "Hey, I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we need to play Coley now." Excuse me, you're the big bad.
We make movie now.
You're the big bad. I'm Jesus. You're the devil. You gotta play lacrosse? Yeah. Why? Because my interdimensional shopping list says so.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
sure.
Continuing on. After Takanuva destroys the Rockshi tubes, him and Protocol, kind of fight. And they're like, just kind of like punching each other.
This is the sound of fighting.
Yeah, Takanuva started it. Protocol's like, dude, I wanted to be friends with you. I was telling you all this stuff because it was like, we should be friends. Because, like,
he has righteous anger here, yeah, where he's like, I give knowledge.
Yes, I'm obviously a Karada, but I don't like Makuta.
He's mean to me.
You have like a righteous.
I am secretly working for him.
Oh, but that's a secret.
Destiny. Like you have a righteous destiny and all that. You want to know what my purpose for existing is? Fucking nothing. That's my destiny. The gods had no purpose for me.
That's true.
And I resent that.
I do like that by the power of pure prejudice here, Takanuva does manage to evade getting taken in by this guy. He's just like, no, I don't like you. I'm not going to trust you. Go.
You're shadowy. You got shadow in your name.
You're stinky. You smell.
You stink like
cooties.
Like, literally everything this guy tells him is stuff that Taraga will probably tell him 5 minutes later. But, but except probably Makuta wanted him to exist. I don't know if they know that.
Nah, they don't know that.
I don't know why anyone else would know that.
Yeah, no one knows that. I don't know.
I specifically love, too, how this fight is brought to an end, not just by doing the laser pointer thing again, but nobody asked for this, but he very specifically made it red this time.
Yep.
Yeah,
this story has the same ending as the Ninjago movie.
The red dots appearing on him. I genuinely thought there were snipers in the shadow.
In a way, there were.
In a way,
big cat sniper.
What is a laser pointer if not a sniper and the ammunition is a cat?
Exactly. So he sicks the Monaco on Protocol, and they create a big dang hole in the floor, and Chronicle falls through it. Sad.
Takanuva's like, well, my work
work
here
here
is
is
done.
The same brain cells.
Smart.
Yeah, we've done it. We've
Just
won.
goes to
Well,
show-
it ends
just
well.
It just
Yes.
goes to show that literally being Jesus doesn't make him any more smarter.
Yes. So then he goes back to the surface and then he's having a meeting with the Takanuva, and they're discussing the Taraga's secrecy, and they're like, we want to learn more about Metro Nui. And, that's when they go to them to be like, tell us the story of your life. And that's, then we're dealing with that for 2 years in real life.
I imagine Takanuva might feel pretty embarrassed after finding out that pretty much everything that guy told him was true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just fucking disregarded him for no reason. Like,
maybe in our ongoing narrative for Takanuva in Vision of the Great Beings, maybe Chronicle should come back at some point, if only to just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Didn't something maybe I said strike a nerve with you before?
I am planning on including him. He's
Hell
in
yeah.
some of the notes.
That's good.
I love him. He's such a good boy.
Speaking of, though, at this point, we switch perspectives back to him for a moment as he's got a little fart cloud whispering in his ear.
Don't call
He's
it
talking
that.
to he's talking to his imaginary friend, who also turns out to be his dad 5 seconds
Yes.
later.
Anyway, so Makuda's talking to him, and he instructs Chronicle to tip off the Paraka.
Yo.
He says, yo, Paraka, bring them over.
Bring the Paraka into my lair. Specifically the Paraka. I know they suck.
They're perfect
I have a
for what I
plan.
have in mind.
Yeah,
They're
they suck.
perfect.
They suck. That's the point, dumbass.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of that.
Their suckitude is perfect for my plan.
Yep.
Okay.
They're stupid, and that's what makes them easy for me to manipulate.
Yeah, and that's what happened in the story.
Takanuva just kicked my ass because your plan is so incomprehensible. Yes. Good job. I'm proud of you, son, daughter,
Anyway.
whatever you are.
Anyway, what's our
gods have
thoughts
no
on the
purpose
tale of
for you.
Takanuva?
I love it.
I absolutely love that. It's just like this is the character that Chronicle exists in this story to give Takanuva foreshadowing, and that's basically it.
Literally the exposition fairy.
He
He's
looks
an
cool.
in-universe way of explaining a lot of stuff that was revealed to the fans, but is necessary for the Metro Nui arc, like how there are other Rakshi which appear in the books and in the comics, but there's no, like, how's there's a Rakshi weather control all of a sudden? Not really.
There always was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's also very tastefully non-specific, where it says there are upper Makuta, there are upper islands. What are their names? We'll withhold that until later.
Wait
Yeah,
until
the legal team hasn't
2006.
passed me.
Steve, the island is named Steve, not the Makuta.
Yeah, I like that. I had a good time.
I think that all the stories in this episode were.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is kind of a good thing we didn't cover the rest of the Bohrok work, because I don't think we would have fit it. that was another
very
reason
true.
I had for being like, maybe I'll just stick to what was public. Because it's just like
all the more
there's a
reason
lot to
for
cover.
an episode. All the more reason for an episode 9 or 10 later on.
Oh,
No, there will be definitely a good amount of content to cover by then.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at the very least, there'll be legacy weapons.
Legacy
moving
weapons,
along quickly.
Bohrok Wars, and I imagine Old War Rahi 2 might be done by then.
I
There's
didn't
a
even know
second
you
one?
were doing an Old War Rahi 2.
Mhm. Yep.
You've got ball joints, my friend.
The working subtitle is Ball Joints of Steel.
I think you're lying to me. For the
You
sake
want to
of
see the
humor.
cover art?
Sure, go ahead.
Let's see.
While you prepare that, does anyone else have any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, just there doesn't seem to have been a weak one in the bunch this time.
Yeah. No, this week was a banger after banger.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like it. I like Motunui. It's a nice setting.
As much as a lot of the other settings are like a lot cooler, like there's a lot more going. Matanui is just such a nice little peaceful place.
It's
You
a classic,
want
you know?
to see them defend it. Like it's nice.
I was rereading the fourth book, Tales of the Masks, not too long ago, and that was one where they didn't have any adventure that they specifically had to cover, and it was just nice seeing Greg just following the Toa along. We get to see one scene where Tahu and Kopaka are described as trying to start a fire, and Gali gets to watch them without their powers, and it's just or we get to see Onua and Wenua taking a break to eat lunch, and it's just so nice seeing just this everyday aspect that we almost never see in Bionicle.
Yeah, for real.
Well, that's one of the things that I really liked about the stories that we read in previous episodes, really, that they were a lot of them, especially the episode 2 and 3 ones, were just they were slice of life stories, and it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it when there's a slice of life aspect to these.
Yeah.
I like it when the funny little robot boys do things.
I like it when the naughty bonkles get put in the ball wiggler.
Yes. Liam, what do we have for next episode?
I'm always unprepared for this question for some reason.
Oh, well, how could you have the info?
Stupid dumb idiot. Dumb idiot.
Next episode, we will be reading Call to Arms, Invasion, Heart of Metronui, Annals of Icarax, Out of Their Elements, and An Even Exchange. With
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And Necrophora.
That is
no more than we read this week.
One of them's a whole book.
We could split those by Voyanui and Marinui, probably.
Yeah.
I barely had anything. I barely had any food the last 2 weeks, and I managed to read everything that we had this week.
Oh, damn. I just realized, outside of stuff that's for like planned episodes 9 and 10 anyways, the next week will be the third to last episode.
Goodness gracious.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone, please say goodbye one by one. That's the law now.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you got it. Now you can put more work on yourself.
While talking. I'm only going to say goodbye while talking over others. Goodbye.
See you guys next time.
Talking over while talking over others.
You know I can just cut you. You know I can just cut you out, right, Josie?
All right.
Let's not tell the Matoran that. Okay, someone just left.
And Max is gone.
No.
Okay. Let's talk about them behind their back.
We all lost.
My Discord.
How about that Max? Isn't he a bitch?
Yeah, my Discord crashed for some reason and rebooted itself.